country's once and future president, Lula da Silva. Israel disparagingly accused pro-Palestinian activists of lawfare when they tried to stop its foreign minister from coming to London. But its own supporters in the US, who funded legal action against supporters of sanctions on Israel, call themselves the Lawfare Project. In Britain, perhaps the best example of lawfare against freedom of speech was Mrs. Thatcher's courtroom crusade to stop newspapers from reporting any details of former MI5 officer Peter Wright's autobiography, Spycatcher, while many copies of the book were being sold in the United States and around the world. The word came into current vogue in Britain in 2022 as a description of the work of reputation lawyers who had been issuing threats and writs against authors and publishers of books about Russian oligarchs, many of whom would be sanctioned by the British government after their friend and benefactor Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine. The most notable victim was a distinguished journalist, Catherine Belton, author of Putin's People, How the KGB Took Back Russia and Then Took on the West, which attracted a sudden blizzard of legal actions from Roman Abramovich and 3 other oligarchs and from Rosneft, Russia's national oil company, claiming that the book libeled them. It was estimated this would cost her publishers £10 million to fight successfully, more than twice as much if they lost, a real prospect because of the unfair rule in English libel cases that the defendant bears the burden of proof of truth and other defences. There had been preliminary skirmishes before the case settled at a cost to HarperCollins of £1.5 million in legal fees and a cost to Belton of a year of stress and exhaustion in defending statements of great public interest that she believed were true. The court-enforced settlement was, as usual, strictly confidential, so the public cannot appreciate what infringements of free speech its terms require. This is the perennial problem of defending allegations about Russians and wealthy claimants from the Middle East or indeed from Britain, namely the impossibility of proving truth when it is hidden behind offshore trusts or in tax havens or has come from sources who fear reprisals. The law of libel, unlike any other civil law in the country, puts the burden of proof on the defence, and however firmly and reasonably the author believes a defamatory statement, she must nonetheless prove its truth by evidence that is admissible in court. This is the main reason why, at a count some years ago, 95% of libel claims were either won or settled on terms that required withdrawal of the allegations. The Belton case became notorious, settled as it was some months before Putin went to war. The claimants certainly were not in need of money, and Putin's People had been published a year before they took action. The flurry of writs came only after Alexei Navalny, Putin's political foe, had displayed the book at a public meeting. The legal actions were initially heard by a judge who, as British judges usually do, found that the book bore a number of defamatory meanings, which means merely that it tends seriously to lower a claimant in the estimation of right-thinking people. The judge sent the case forward to a multi-million-pound trial. This was a political lesson for the UK media. Defame Putin and his cronies at your peril. They hardly needed it. Over the previous few years, books had gone unwritten or had been censored or simply not published for fear of defamation actions about statements reasonably believed to be true, but which were not capable of proof by evidence admissible in a British court. Typical